One of the coolest things I got when working at Walt Disney World was the cast exclusives. Those things that they only offered to cast members for sale. And I got a few of them in my pins collection. I love collecting Disney pins, and while I was working at Walt Disney World, I especially tried to pick up a lot of the cast exclusive ones, in particular to commemorate holidays that I worked, but also a number of others. These are pins that only cast members could get. They generally were offered for sale at the Company D store backstage, which only cast members had access to. They would have them for the holidays. They would have them for special events and occasions like anniversaries of rides and ride openings and things like that. And every now and then you could pick them up in other areas as well. They may have a special event backstage or a tour just for cast members or things like that. So I collected a number of pins while I was there that are cast member exclusives. Only way to get these is if you're a cast member. To mark the holidays, to mark special events and occasions, and sometimes just because I thought it was a cool pin. Now, of course, my money affected when I was able to buy them and when I wasn't. Which pins did I get? Well, let me show you my cast exclusives here. So I've got a couple of my binders pulled out here to show you the cast member pins that I have in them. These are the binders that have most of them, and they're spread out really among 3 different ones. Partially because I've got the loose pins that are put onto these pin cards here. And then I have the others that are actually put into baseball card pages to help hold them. And so I'll give you a good look at those. And then I've got a couple other loose odds and ends as well. One of the things that you won't see in these books are a couple of the extras like the lanyards. They sell these at Company D. And this one is actually a gift from a cast member. Gee, can't understand why they think I'd like Figment. So I'm very grateful for that one. Thank you, Rebecca. I've got most of my lanyards actually hanging up on my displays. And then I've had a few other pins that have been sent to me as well, such as that Disneyland cast member pin, which is just an awesome pin. But most of the ones I've got are actually in these books. And these are a good example. The Disneyland connection here, the development connection, sorry, Disneyland, is a pin that you could just pick up going down into essentially their library there. That was kind of a freebie for everybody. The Backstage Magic was a little harder pin to get, and I believe I actually bought that one. These 2 pins were actually ones that you get at the very beginning of your job. When you first start in the parks, they actually take you on a cast tour in Magic Kingdom, in Epcot, or Animal Kingdom, and Hollywood Studios. And at the end of your tour, you were given that pin to show that you've toured the park you're going to work in. So the Magic Kingdom is my original tour pin. And the Epcot I picked up from somebody else. They don't always give them out. Sometimes they forget them. Sometimes they're out of them. But the only way you can get that pin is to be a cast member. And then the trainer pin I also picked up from somebody else because I wasn't a trainer. I could have been, but really had no desire to be. But that lets you know that somebody knows what they're doing in the job. And then, of course, you got an Imagineering pin, a couple of the name tag pins that are there as well. Another Imagineering design and engineering pin. And then these are also ones that sometimes you would find backstage. The cast portal is a pin that they gave out to everybody. And this is a really thick pin. It's almost kind of weird because you can see how thick that pin is. And then this one is what's called a fantasy pin. It's not an official Disney pin. Disney didn't make it. But this one was made by cast members, for cast members in a limited set. And I actually tell that story in another video. So I'll put a link there for you to be able to see. And then I get to some of my other cast pins. These are all the safety pin collection, and I am missing a couple of these in this series. And these are a mix of ones that you could get backstage as cast-only pins, but you would also find them on lanyards sometimes as well. And I believe it or not, I actually have a couple of those to trade. I've got extras of these 2. So if you want one of those and you got one I'm missing, I would love to trade you for it. And then a few others. The pin trading ones are also ones that they would give out to cast members here and there. And you can see that that one actually says cast member on it. You get them at actually pin trading events as a cast member. And then a couple that I've picked up from Tokyo Disneyland. This is the main things I would tend to collect as a cast member. I would try to get the cast member pins from the holidays I worked. So all of these here are actually all pins that I bought commemorating the holiday that I worked at. With the one exception being that one right there. That one I did pick up, believe it or not, actually after the fact, but I did buy it from the Company D store. But you can kind of see some of the holidays that I worked this way. This is not all of the holiday pins I've got. I do have more that I will show you in a few minutes. Oh, and then of course there's the anniversary with Expedition Everest on it. So I did try to pick up ones that marked when I worked and where I worked and all of that. So that gives you a good idea. This pin is also a really neat one in that it opens up. So Steamboat Willie commemoration. And then, again, the holidays around the world. I think that one was actually one that you could buy in the park. I don't think that was a cast member exclusive pin. But then I've also got a number of other pins that I bought at Company D. And this is going to take a little bit to show you. Of course, being a PhotoPass photographer, when they finally came out with a limited edition cast member pin, we said that was our pin. It doesn't say PhotoPass on it, but we claimed it. And then, of course, a couple of the others. Candlelight cast member. I did not actually sing in Candlelight, but they sold the pins at Company D to anybody who wanted them, so I bought it. The Dave Smith collection was a very popular one among cast members. If you don't know Dave Smith, go look up the story. Amazing guy. And you can see a couple more of the holiday pins sneaking in here and there. So that was really my big thing, was get the pins for the holidays that I worked. And Festival of the Arts. The Festival of the Masters, actually, this is not a cast pin. That was one that you could buy anywhere. And yeah, if you're curious, I do have these all in essentially baseball card pages. It's a great way to hold them. These aren't cast pins, but they're bicentennial ones I liked. However, these are. So you can see the cast member around the world. And a couple others. And I'll try and hold this so that the light reflects. But yes, I actually did work a lot of these holidays. And then these two here are actually a couple of my favorites. I love the Earn My Ears. This is something that any cast member who works at the parks can tell you. It's a sign of a new cast member to have that ribbon. And I do actually still have my original ribbon around here somewhere. And the Guest Service Fanatic. They've changed the name of this over the years. Now it's Cast Compliment and other things. But for us, it was Guest Service Fanatic cards. And that lets you know that you got something right. That somebody complimented you on it. And then you can see these pins, they're actually all taped into the pages. The opening is actually taped so they don't fall out. But again, a lot more holidays. So you got Spring Break there. There's a Club 33. That's actually a pin that my sister bought for me when she got to go to the one in Disneyland. Happy Holidays to Cruella. And again, these are all marking holidays that I worked. Unless, of course, they're Disneyland. Then they're ones I've picked up from other collections. There are a couple of those that have snuck in. These are ones that have snuck in from another collection that I was offered. And I was like, you bet. And actually, that pin right there was sent to me by a viewer. And then Disney Cruise Line. So there's a couple that have snuck in there. Up here are a lot more of the holiday pins. And I've tried to move them so you can see them a little better with the pins hiding behind. Epcot's 35th anniversary. This is kind of a neat one in that it's really a mirror background. And then the opening of the Monsters, Inc. Laugh Floor. And there's actually another pin hiding right there that I should probably pull out for Thanksgiving. A little hard to see because of the way I've got it packaged in there. Chippendale with the New Year's. Yep, that was one New Year I worked. Night of Joy. This is also a pin that was given to me recently. Even though I worked them, somehow I never ended up with a pin. So, and let's see. The Living Seas, when they opened that up with Nemo. Partners. We all knew the Partner statue very well. Independence Day. Yep, worked that one. And another New Year. So yes, I worked 3 different New Year's days at 3 different parks, which they were amazing experiences, but it still kind of stunk being away from the family during that. And then, of course, Disneyland pins are ones that I picked up. This is another pin I actually have 2 of. It actually spins around, so you can. It's a marker for your guests' needs on the hotel room doors. Those signs. So yeah, the ones I can't talk about. But I do have another one of those. Thanksgiving. And then, of course, we got another Earning Your Ears ribbon with Mickey. You can see that model of Mickey gets used a lot because that's essentially almost the exact same Mickey. But then 2007 cast member and a couple other Disneyland ones. There's another couple holidays that I worked right there for you. And then I've got a couple other little extras. You may have heard me talk about the trader pins or the Tink pins. This is the ones that they actually would give us to give to guests. That if you saw somebody do something nice, you'd give them these. And it had 2 pins in it. One for you, and then one for them to give out to somebody else. And there were a couple different versions of these pins. And while these aren't cast member pins during the Year of a Million Dreams, these were awesome to be able to get. And I do have a couple of those lanyards floating around here. So that's a lot of my cast member pins. And like I said, you can see the ones that are a little bit hard to get, but yeah, a lot of holidays in there because I worked a lot of holidays during that time. And so that was a lot of what I tried to capture and keep and collect. Yeah, and I'm actually still going in and still trying to fill in holes with holidays that I worked and didn't get a pin for some reason. Why? I don't know. Usually probably because of lack of money. That or they were sold out of the pin that I wanted. So as you can see, I actually have these things put on special pages designed just to hold pins, as well as in baseball card pages. They're ones that you can pick up online relatively inexpensively and put in binders to keep them fairly well organized. So that's kind of a look at what I've got. You can see I'm still missing a few holidays in there. There are definitely spots that as I find an opportunity to trade for a pin, if it's one like that, I try to pick them up. I love the cast exclusive pins, even if they're from when I wasn't working, like some of the Disneyland ones you saw. I'd love to hear what you think. Do you have questions about which ones I have, which ones I don't? Is there a pin you want to get a closer look at? Because I can always go back and post up some photos for you. Let me know. I would love to hear your feedback. Is there a pin that you especially love? Let me know too. I love to see it because I love pins and pin collections. They're just cool. Thank you so much for hitting the like button on this. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I also want to give a huge shout out to my financial supporters as well, my YouTube patrons. I've actually got a couple brand new ones here. I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to Allison Marie Cece for re-signing on again. Welcome back, Allison. As well as to the Southards. I hope I said that right. Southards or Southards? One of those. Thank you so much for joining me on Patreon. Their financial support is huge and allows me to do so much, like get pins, but also be able to go visit the parks and catch the pins in the wild, if you will. If you want to know more about that, check the description. There's also a ton of other info there as well. Thank you so incredibly much for watching, and God bless. One of the things I got a lot of, was getting the cast exclusives. That's right, there are pins that only cast members could. Let me get rid of these. Okay, let's just scrap that. And every now and then you can pick them up. But as much as I was able to, I tried to. Yeah, okay. That was fun. Okay. If you'd like to know about my merchandise, contact information, fan pages, and more, be sure to check the description below. If you want to make sure you don't miss any of my videos, hit that button right there to subscribe. And if you want to see another one, well, I've got a great video for you right here. If you'd like to be like these wonderful people here too and support me financially on Patreon or YouTube, well, hit that little button right there. It'll even give you behind the scenes access and more perks. Thank you so incredibly much for watching, and God bless.